Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm Josh Modell. On this week's episode, we've got two British gentlemen who made big waves in the past couple of decades and who've collided just recently for a celebratory remix. It's Tom Vek and Gus Unger-Hamilton. Now, Tom Vek released his instant classic debut, We Have Sound, back in 2005, putting his own spin on post-punk and dance and riding the wave of so-called indie-tronica with catchy tracks like Nothing But Green Lights. He hasn't exactly been prolific since then, releasing quality albums every few years while also working hard in other areas of the industry. Check out both supercollector.com and his upcoming music player, Sleeve Note. But in celebration of We Have Sound's 20th anniversary, Vek asked a bunch of friends and fellow musicians to remix each of the album's tracks, including folks like Baths, Glass Animals, and the other half of today's conversation, Gus Unger-Hamilton of the band Alt J. Check out a little bit of Unger-Hamilton's remix of Vek's song Cover right here.
That's why I cover my ears when you talk to me. That's why. That's why I cover my ears when you talk to me. That's why.
It's unsurprising that Unger-Hamilton put his own spin on Vek's song. Alt J has been scribbling in the bombastic, weirder corners of indie rock and art rock since 2007, though they didn't release their big debut, An Awesome Wave, until 2012. They've since embraced their oddness on a string of records, with the latest being 2022's The Dream, which was hailed at the time as a return to the power of their debut. New music is likely on the horizon, though as you'll hear in this chat, Alt J is currently without a label home. Now, label homes are one of the many things these two chat about in this lively conversation. They're both into the logos of their favorite record companies, they're both really into fancy watches, and they're both back into the lost art of reading a good book, though Gus admits he hasn't read a particular novel that his band famously borrowed a title from. Listen and find out which one.
Hey Gus.
How are you, man?
I am well, thank you, yes. My head is spinning a little bit with various projects, sub-projects of what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's good. I like being busy, actually. I like sort of the minute that you sort of stop thinking about one thing, something else pops into your head. I like that. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying the beginning of the autumn season, just like less stuff going on. I always enjoy the back to school feeling. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like saying, oh, well, you've told me in the past that you don't really like your birthday, which is the end of August, and you didn't really enjoy summer holidays very much as a kid. And that's probably why you like autumn so much. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that before. But yeah, it is kind of my favorite time of year. And it's a strange combination of like stripping stuff out, like, the sort of summer social season ends, kind of just not just kind of going away camping every weekend and doing things like that, but also like back to work, like back to school, back to, projects starting again and people kind of, coming back from their summer holidays. And you've got your re-release coming out.
I think that by the time other people might be listening, I think it will be out. So
very cool.
Hopefully the remixes are being enjoyed. I'm very excited for people to hear them all because there are some great remixes on there, including yours.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for asking me.
Well, I'm delighted that you chose the song you did, because I was thinking, I had an idea of a few people that I would ask, a wish list, hit list, and trying to work out what song people would do, and thought, well, I'll just ask people for a top 3 or something, and it worked out so well that it did just split the tracks up amongst everyone really well.
So I chose Cover, and for context for people listening, I think I've been quite vocal in my love of your music and We Have Sound over the years. I think that's probably how we kind of came to start talking, I guess. Like, I think back in the day, it doesn't seem to happen much anymore, but like, I feel like I was constantly, every other week, sort of, we'd be emailed something from management from like NME being like, oh, they want you to pick like your, top 10 albums of the noughties, or like, your, top 5, like, cult classic albums or something, and I would always kind of put We Have Sound in there if it was in any way feasible, based on the criteria. So anyway, so I chose Cover, and you sent me a really nice text thing, like, you're like, I love that you chose that song. But I was also like, that thing of like when you're sort of at someone's house or something and they're kind of offering you like a plate of food and you're like, well, I don't want to take the biggest one because that looks greedy. So I was like, well, I'd better not ask for like one of like the big singles from the album because that'll seem sort of presumptuous. But then because I was talking to my brother about it, who you worked with on this album, Ferdy.
Right. I never knew the exact relationship, actually. So please, yeah.
He's technically my half brother. We call each other brothers. And it was really funny because I texted him being like, oh, Tom Vek's asked me to do a remix for this for We Have Sound. And he was like, make sure you ask for Nothing But Green Lights or Ain't Saying My Goodbyes because they'll get the most traction.
Oh, wicked, yeah.
I was like, industry advice from an industry man.
I'm delighted that he would remember the tracks, to be honest. That's great. Ferdy, actually, I mean, we're speaking via the magic of video, but there's my Portishead poster here.
Yes.
Ferdy gifted to me.
Oh, did he?
Which sealed the deal.
Did he have the same one in his house?
Right, yeah.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Nice. That was a huge deal when I met Ferdy A&R at Island Records at the time. And as soon as he told me that he had signed Portishead, I was like, right.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, exactly. Where do I sign?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia is that I actually did sort of like, force is not the right word maybe, but I did encourage him to revive the Go Beat logo, the Go Beat brand, to put on my album because the Portishead records were on Go Beat, which is part of Go Discs, I think, and then that had all been what's the term, ingested by Island. So that was being a very superficial person. I was like, I just want the same logo on my album as on the Portishead album. I was granted.
So cool.
Then I tried to get a hold of Jeff Barrow and was like, hey bud, like like you and me, label mates, whatever. And he was like, I'm over it. He had moved on, so I was like the sole Go Beat artist for a little bit.
But you obviously, with your graphic design background, I can imagine that label, sleeves, whatever you call them. Can you call them colophons or logos? Or whatever you call them,
I like it. You're flexing there.
They're important to you.
Yes.
Would I be right in that, in saying that?
Yeah, that would be completely correct. I think album art is what made me want to become a graphic designer. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
Flicking through my dad's records, it's like, what is this type of art? it's not a painting on a wall. It's sort of this presentation. It's making this artist seem really cool. It's making this release giving it some context. So yeah 100%. And always admired the Alt J art, I have to say.
Thank you. No, I was just going to say that the label that we were on, Infectious, had like one of its logos was a Dalmatian dog, and in quite a lot of they had a kind of one of the logos where the dog was like doing a wee, and I just always found it really. I was like, I just didn't really like it.
Well, the funny thing, Infectious had a great. I know the Infectious mark brand from the Pop Will Eat Itself stuff, right?
Right. Okay.
I want to say, there is an amazing Infectious logo knocking around. Being a logo geek and stuff, I would sort of notice that a label had kind of updated their logo and it wasn't as cool as their old one, and some artists had been lumped with this like new rebrand that they would eventually go back to. But Infectious were great, and band called Cable were on Infectious, who I loved and still love.
Yeah, it's one of those labels that went through various different, I think, lives, as it were, in the way that labels do. Independent here, owned by someone here, went independent again, bought by somebody else again, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we are now an unsigned band. So I will.
How is that?
I will be paying close attention to the logo situation if and when we do re-sign. It's quite funny how re-sign and resign are like written down at the same word. It's like resignation dinner.
I think what you most want from a label is this idea of like camaraderie, I think, and this idea that like you and a bunch of other bands would be like in a gang and you would play each other's nights and all that kind of thing. The label that I was on initially called Tummy Touch, which were more of a sort of like a kind of house sort of electronic label, but I have such fond memories of, they had this regular night in some basement bar in like central, like super central London, like the Oxford Street crossings, and you just sort of turn, you knew it was on, so I'd just go down, and every you know, we would get asked to DJ, kind of, they would rotate the artists who would DJ, but it was just us and the other artists just drinking really big bottles of Cruz Campo, which I picked up a bottle of Cruz Campo the other day, like sort of like, you know, I thought it was sort of meaningful, you know. I don't think I've drunk it since.
You thought it was going to tell you something. You were looking for an answer at the bottom.
I was,
of
yeah.
a bottle of Cruz Campo.
Yeah, but there's good places only to look for it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, have you sort of experienced much label camaraderie?
So when we signed to Infectious, it was like 5 people in a flat in an office that was a sort of flat in Soho. It was on Frith Street, opposite Bar Italia,
Cool.
Same building that Ronnie Scott's was in. And given that this was 2011-12, it was probably about as kind of cool as you could hope to get for a record label. You know what I mean? Like it did feel like if Richard Curtis wrote a film set in a record label, that's what it would be like. There was like 5 people. There was like the sort of like young geeky guy. There was like the sort of trendy A&R people. There was like the older guy who like ran the label and had loads of stories. There was like the very maternal woman who like looked after everyone and sort of was like his PA.
Yes, lovely.
And there was a kind of, you know, there was basically, it was like there were all these kind of different types, and we really did like party together, you know, in Soho, and it was fucking cool. You know, we'd go to the office. It was good times. It was really, really good times because, you know, it was a small label. I think it was like the Successible J was like the label's success as well. And it was like all of us were just having this like incredible experience. It wasn't like we were just one of many bands who were like in the charts that year for them. So it was really, really cool. And as for the label mates thing, I mean, to an extent, I think but like not massively, no. I mean, I'd say we probably hung out more with people who were on the same management as us, like Wolf Alice, and sort of we toured with a lot of people. But yeah, not so much the label mates thing, really. But then the Richard Curtis dream sort of came to an end when Infectious was bought by BMG, and then it kind of like, they moved out to an office in Paddington Basin. And I had lunch in Paddington Basin with my friend the other day who works for the Premier League. And he was like, do you know Paddington Basin? And I was like, yeah, I think I know the place. He was like, you know, it's the place, it's like a shit Canary Wharf.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Basin.
What would you?
It's sort of like just at the bottom of Edgware Road. It's just like a few skyscrapers, a sort of canal. And yeah, it's just like pretty soulless place.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, it just to illustrate really, we went from sort of this dream label situation to something a bit more corporate.
Yes, I had that with Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a while to deliver my second album and turned up at this like huge building in Kensington, and instead of Island Records' initial office was in Chris Blackwell's house, I think, and
right.
I was shown some chimney where, you know, Bob Marley had recorded a reverb up a chimney or something that was very quaint, and that had all gone. Yeah. Yeah. Music biz stories. So where would you like as an independent, I mean, this is the thing, like labels, I think for the, you know, you sort of want the vibe, don't you? So there was always this thing, I think, of being, if you releasing completely independently, which I have done actually, that there is that like, do you want to pretend to have a label? Do you want to just invent like a name for a label? And as a younger person, I would have tried to kind of force that into being. But then now I'm a bit like, well, if it's not real, if it's not really a label, I don't want to sort of, you know, make something seem like it is. And the last thing I want to do is try and sign some other acts. There's a good friend of mine who makes music, whose music I generally love. And I was like, is there any way that we can be like a group of artists that are sort of connected somehow that isn't a label? It's just not that for so, and I don't really know how that would work. But I guess that's just being friends, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's enough.
You mean like a salon?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it?
some kind of
Salon is actually a great label name.
We could do a bit of hair cutting on the side if like the whole music thing falls through.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's the ultimate like ego present that like a band or an artist can be given is like when they get given their own sort of imprint, and they're like, you can sign bands. Like it's happened to a couple of people I know. And it never got offered to us. I mean, perhaps if we'd really made noises about wanting it, personally, it doesn't massively appeal to me. Exactly. It's like I love the idea of coming up with a name and coming up with a logo.
Yes,
and making stationery.
Exactly. Yes, yeah. That's
the hard work.
Business cards. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I totally
exactly.
agree. I want to make I want to segue to. That's an easy segue to American Psycho, and then I think there's a reference for your first record. But actually, before I say that, I want to say that a bit of trivia about like Vanity sublabels is that I believe that when Madonna's label, is it Maverick? I want to say their first their first signing was Deftones, and I think that is like a sick fact.
Good things can come wrapped in vain paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But on the subject of comparing business cards, is an Awesome Wave is a Bret Easton Ellis. Is it from American Psycho? Bret Easton Ellis?
It is.
Right?
It is. Yeah.
That's amazing. I want to say that I recognised it, but I've obviously since read it, and now I'm not sure if I. So I mean, I've read the fact about that album, but did were you all united on? Did you enjoy that book? Because
I haven't read it.
Man, busted on a podcast.
Busted would be probably pretending I had read it. I may have pretended in the past that I'd read it. That would be true. I had a split second there where I thought I could probably get through this next minute or two pretending I've read it because I basically know what it's about. Shit. Yeah. No, because it's a lyric in our song Blood Flood, which it in itself is a reference to is a quote from American Psycho.
Right. Okay. Right.
So we sort of named the album after the lyric, and the lyric came from the book. Should I read it?
Well, this it's interesting because Bret Easton Ellis kind of got me into reading again as an adult, because I remember I liked reading as a kid, and then as a teenager I think I was actually more interested in making music. And then in my early 20s a friend had lent me a random later Bret Easton Ellis book, which I loved, Luna Park, I think.
Oh yeah,
which is really weird because it's kind of like about him, but it's made up, which is a really interesting kind of construct. But so then I went back through them, and it's like there's always got to be like one gross thing in every book of his, at least one thing that you're like, oh
yeah.
But American Psycho, he's like the most on form, the kind of, the bits that the film get really brilliantly right, are excellent in writing, like maybe even more kind of hilariously straight up, and then the kind of grotesque bits are unbelievable. It's the only time I actually had to get off a bus because I thought I was going to be sick having read something, which is really like kind of wild. I don't know how big into like gore or whatever you are, but it was sort of, it's the placement amongst the other stuff that is so the opposite of that is like the genius of the book. But it's definitely like a writer at their most just concentrated and intense. But after that, I managed to find similar writers who didn't write anything gross, but were still hip, and then have managed to kind of go into a world of very easy, chill, hip literature.
Yeah.
Including Jack Kerouac. Have you read On the Road?
Okay, I have read that. Yes, thank God.
Okay, nice. You can lie. You should lie and say you've read that.
No, that's probably one of those books that is frequently lied about having been read.
Right.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like Kerouac is. Probably be a percentage of probably men young men who'd be like, "Oh, Kerouac, man," you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the person asking you don't know if they're also, like making it up as well. But there's a track on We Have Sound called On the Road, which I remember people
Yes.
saying, "Oh, it's like, oh, a Kerouac reference, right?" And I was like, "Oh no, actually, I hadn't read it at that point." And then read it, I think in my mid-20s, which you think is kind of like the time to read that kind of book, but I found it really hard, really dense, really difficult to get through. And then in the last few years, I've read quite a bit more Kerouac and went back to On the Road, and it just seems like this like razor sharp, really kind of lucid work of art. It's really weird. It's totally my experiences of reading it, probably 15 years apart, was so different. I think as you get a bit older and, a bit wiser, you are a bit like, well, I should give everything I thought was bad a second chance. Not that I thought it was bad, but then, within that, even within like your experiences of something, you're like, actually, maybe I should revisit some things. But I think it's brilliant.
Oh God, I mean, I think I should revisit stuff. I think I should also revisit stuff I thought was just like, what do I even remember? Really, I read On the Road when I'm 16, I think.
Oh, nice.
And I'm now 36, so 20 years ago.
There you go.
And
relevant.
It's remember like literally almost nothing about that book other than what it's about. And I suppose it changed me in some fractional way. And I suppose that's what reading does. Is it makes a very minute, or it could be a massive, but at the very least, a very minute change to your character and makes you see the world in a slightly different way. And so, but I often think this, like, what does it actually mean to have said you've read a book? Like, I couldn't sit down and answer 20 questions on the road, events in On the Road.
Right, exactly, yeah.
I'd get 0 out of 20. I could probably answer more questions on American Psycho than I could on the Road.
There you go, yeah.
I read loads of really, really, really good books when I was very young. And I sort of think, like, I was talking to someone about Steinbeck the other day about East of Eden, and I was like, fuck, I should probably reread that because, yeah.
I'm going through a Steinbeck moment actually right now, having never read it.
Oh, really? Which one are you reading?
So I read Cannery Row, which I thought was brilliant.
That's a really nice book. That's a happy Steinbeck.
Yeah, exactly. But now I'm halfway through The Grapes of Wrath now, and it's hard.
Oh, that's a very, very sad Steinbeck.
Yeah, I've gone. I wasn't ready.
Did you start with Cannery Row and thought, I love this guy's happy-go-lucky style?
Exactly. Book's so short.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's hard work actually, and I've done a thing. I've picked up another book and kind of read it in the meantime. This bizarre 90s book called Permanent Midnight, which so I've been finding that I've been discovering books on my I think it's specifically Facebook. My Facebook sort of setup is mostly just like bass guitar content.
Yeah.
Old Mercs. There's another like special ingredient. I can't remember. Oh, watches. Which we'll get onto, yeah.
I was going to say, we haven't made sure we leave time for watches, Tom.
Leave time, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's some sort of some film stuff creeps in, and what I've been finding is that a kind of forgotten 90s hipster film is generally, or a lot of the time, it's based on a forgotten 90s hipster book. And so then I'm like, I will read that book, and then I do enjoy like reading books and then watching films. I feel like you have to read the book first, I think, because then you have this sort of this ability for your mind to actually picture the characters initially before they're cast as whoever or miscast. So Permanent Midnight was actually, I think it had like a young Ben Stiller in it when he's, sort of like potentially even like heartthrob Ben Stiller period.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll read the book so I could be an insufferable, like, it's not as good as the book person. But I've nearly finished it.
Okay, nice. Okay, so that's been your breakout book from Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, I shoved that in between, and now I have to go back to the bleak travels of a family across America.
In the jalopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking heavy.
What are you reading right now?
I've just started enjoying the work of Michael Frayn. So my friend bought me 2 of his books for my birthday. One was called Towards the End of Morning, which is really great. It's like a Fleet Street novel written in the 60s. Highly recommend that. It's very funny, and it's really lovely when you find that combination of humor and beautiful writing. Usually you get one or the other, but to have both is a real treat. And the one I'm reading at the moment, I cannot remember what it's called. It hasn't got a very sticky title, but
Right.
I'm enjoying the work of Michael Frayn anyway.
I like this. I like the idea of being given 2 books.
But yeah, I read Grapes of Wrath, I think when I was about 18 maybe. And yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, just that idea of kind of going through my whole life saying, yes, I've read The Grapes of Wrath, having only read it once when I hadn't even finished like growing physically, is doesn't feel quite right. What have you got on the wrist today, Tom?
Right, so we've established that we both are interested in wristwatches. I'm trying to think, how was it Catherine that had mentioned? Because we share my manager worked with your management, I think, at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I got wind. I got wind. Oh, go on.
Well, I was wondering if maybe when we were in LA in that bar together,
yes,
we may have talked about watches.
Had it come up?
Maybe.
I'm not sure what I would have been wearing then. That was an incredible night. That night, what was it? Prohibition themed, like private art venue.
Bar. It's a sort of motel. It's called No Vacancy, and it's like it's a sort of so it's like a kind of motel with like a no vacancy sign, which I think is more of an American thing.
But you went in through you
go in through like under a bed. And it's wicked. It's my friend Justin is one of the owners, and it's amazing.
It's still going, presumably.
Yeah, they have lots of bars. I haven't been there for a couple of years.
Yes, it was fun to bump into you then. So
I was probably I think I was enjoying myself that night.
Enjoying yourself. Yeah, well,
I just played the was it just after we'd done like the Greek maybe or something?
I think we had our KCRW session the next morning, so I was a bit like, don't get too, don't enjoy yourself too much. But it was difficult because that was like the ultimate, kind of like the ultimate, not the ultimate venue. I was so cool. I just enjoyed the whole fanfare of, I don't know. I have such a soft spot for sort of like American hospitality bars and things are just so sort of like, it's like things are designed to be enjoyed, whereas so much of kind of like, I don't know, maybe the places I was going at in London were just like, hard work, maybe some places. But anyway.
And cynicism, but also an uncynicism to like American service culture. You know what I mean? I think it's like, on the one hand, there's a kind of fakeness to it, the kind of have a nice day sort of thing. But on the other hand, I think people genuinely sort of mean it.
Yeah,
in a way. So. And actually, someone smiling at you and telling you to have a nice day, this sort of has got to be better than an English barman sort of chucking your pint at you and basically scowling.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, it may have been then. I don't know. But I remember you just texting me about watches one time.
Yeah, there was some watch chat to be had. I think because the guy I work with, my kind of partner in crime with our various tech design projects, is also quite into watches, and we would geek out quite a bit. And the longest time I'd had this Omega Seamaster that I really loved, and had that moment of like, it's the only watch I'll ever need. So like sort of, because I took a minute finding it, and then that was that.
Are we talking like a dive Seamaster, or sort of like a kind of time only, sort of like classic?
Yeah, more of a tool watch. Because this is the thing, I think it would, you wouldn't even want to put it next to like a photo of the sea, of any water before it would, So its integrity is, aquatic integrity is very slim. But so I sort of loved that watch and had that thing. I'm a real, like with lots of objects, I find myself being like what is the one, like what is the quintessential thing, what is the best kind of like all-rounder maybe, and I think that's the kind of allure of stuff like watches, and even like, I mean, cars, or the instruments as well. You're just like, you're sort of your mind is, sometimes you're like, what is the best, or I could just have one. If I could just have one watch or one base or something, it would be the perfect thing. And then your mind and tastes change, and you're like, this isn't in this exact sweet spot of all these axes or whatever. But I'm trying to think what got me back into, I think I had maybe been reminded about the Milgauss, the Rolex Milgauss, which has a lightning second hand.
Yeah.
Because it's built to withstand electromagnetic force.
Yes, 1,000 of them. 1,000
1,000 Gausses, yes. Death by 1,000 Gauss.
That's a Marmite watch, isn't it?
Nice,
That's a very English reference for American listeners. It's a love it or hate it watch, I would say.
Love it or hate it, yes. And I like the white dial one as well, which I think is probably another curveball choice with that. But and then I got obsessed with Grand Seiko as a brand.
That's right. That's when you first texted me. I think you were like, "I've just got this Grand Seiko."
Okay.
And
Big
you were like,
news.
"I love the design language of earlier Grand Seikos." And I always think about the phrase design language. It's not a phrase I confidently use.
It sounded good when you said
It
it.
sounded good when you said it, and then I was like, design language. Yeah, what's that mean? Like, you said that to me.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So I think it was like it's when they had Seiko and Grand Seiko on the dial.
Oh yeah, right. So watches are a great thing to be obviously a dweeb, like a bore about, I suppose, because you're like, oh, it's that model, but it's this one, but it's that, but it whatever, it's like,
yeah, exactly. Oh, it's got a line underneath the logo, so it's worth
therefore
30 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you get into the realm of like, if you know things.
Yeah.
So then that's kind of like the anti-Rolex. That's Rolex is an obvious choice because everybody knows what Rolex is, whatever. And anything other than that, you have to assume that somebody might know some stuff, or it's just an impressive thing on its own, but mostly it's about how it feels to you to be able to. I think about this a lot with objects, actually, like cars, clothing, watches, anything. It's like, what is the completely objective opinion of this thing? What is the opinion of the extremely well-versed? And how do you feel about those? And again, it's like, I think about a lot about cars, like what is the ultimate car that like someone that knows nothing about cars thinks is cool, and that knows loads about cars also thinks is cool?
Yeah,
that's the kind of sweet spot.
I was much like, it's like, I don't know if you're into wine, but it's like Bordeaux, like red Bordeaux. It's like somebody who knows nothing about wine is like, well, I've heard Bordeaux's pretty good. And somebody who's gone through everything, and like, has traveled the world, in a glass, and, tried all these things. They kind of, a lot of people I've spoken to in wine are like, yeah, I just really like Bordeaux.
Come back to it. Yeah, exactly.
It actually is the best.
Yeah.
And it's like Rolex. Rolex is the same,
Exactly.
In a way, it's not surprising at all, because basically it's no surprise that the best one is the most famous. So hence Rolex, hence Bordeaux. But also, like, I think that as a watch, one's journey as a watch appreciator, shall we say, you start off being like, oh, I'd love a Submariner, a Rolex, and then you're like, oh, Rolex, God, please, like how incredibly obvious, and you're into like Laurent Ferrier, and you're into all these micro brands, or you're like, I'm actually all about vintage Hoya, or whatever it might be, and then you're like, Rolex make a bloody good watch.
But yeah, I mean, obviously watches are like a technical marvel and such kind of lovely things. They're nice objects. I think, male jewellery option as well.
Yeah, they last forever, which is quite nice. Do you think that you could say that about, I don't know, bands or musicians? Like, I've never really got into the Rolling Stones. I've never really given them a listen. And I wonder if I would listen to the Stones and be like, I can really see why this is like. But I love the Beatles. So I guess in a way, that is, I would say the Beatles do apply to that. In the sense that I think that they were my first favourite band when I was a kid, and then I kind of lost interest in the Beatles.
And you'll ultimately have to say that they are your favourite band.
Well, they are now my favourite.
At the end of it all.
Well, yeah, and I think that they are. I think about, I don't know, when I was about 30, I just kind of was like, I started listening to Beatles albums that I didn't listen to when I was a kid. I really liked kind of like the poppy early stuff,
right?
And then I was like, fucking hell, Abbey Road. That's pretty good.
I think there's something interesting going on with this, the safety of the music and artists that you grew up with, that you had those first experiences of like, wow, this is really great music. And the kind of comfort blanket of going back to that stuff, I think, is why. I mean, like at the moment, it seems like bigger bands. There's so many kind of. I mean, they're not all reunion shows, but it's that kind of thing. It's like just old bands coming back playing pretty big shows because people are like, oh, I'll revisit my youth. I feel like there's more going on at the moment than I had noticed. Obviously, the high profile like Oasis stuff, and I suppose, and it's in a way it starts to bug me a bit. There are lots of those bands for the next, so in 20 years' time, people are coming back and people are like excited to go to a Wet Leg gig or something because it reminds them of being young. So I do sort of hope that there's still those really strong bonds happening, but at that level that could sustain those bands being around. I don't know. I just want to make sure there's space.
Yeah, are they going to be nostalgic about an algorithmically created playlist? Like we're all going to go to Ali Pali and listen to like Spotify's like Jim.
Chill.
Ultimate Gym Chill or something.
Ultimate
like
Gym Chill 2, not
Dark
3.
Academia Gym.
I am happy to put playlists down as very sort of low important, what's the word I'm thinking of? Low citizen type of thing. I don't know. In mixtapes, playlists, whatever. I mean, but like albums.
You mean like lowbrow or like, I don't know. What do you mean?
Yeah, a bit lowbrow. Like you say, like the idea of putting on, if you're like, I mean, I feel like there's a joke, the joke has been made at some point when someone's like, what's your favorite album? And if you were to say, a band's greatest hits, that was bad. I mean, and then obviously if you were to say like an actual compilation, that would be even worse.
Yeah.
The film soundtracks may be a slight curveball to that, but no, I mean, it's got to be, your favorite album has to be a whole album by a band.
It's Partridge joke, isn't it? Like, I think I'd have to say the best of the Beatles.
That's it. Okay, that is it. Okay, it's in there
yeah.
somewhere. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The best. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, how did we get onto that? Rolling Stones. Yeah, well, the thing is, for some reason, I had a particular kind of sort of allergy to 60s and 70s music when I was a teenager. I don't know what it was, that it seemed so, it was like, music your parents liked or old people liked, and it just wasn't, I liked that, I don't know, it was, sort of like mid 90s, late 90s, such an incredible period of like brand new types of music just turning up out of nowhere, a lot of them like production as a result of new production techniques, and the band being active and fairly young-ish also. I mean, I always thought that the bands that I liked were grown men, but then as you get older you realize they're only like three years older than you or something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that if I had listened to like the Beatles as a kid, I would have definitely come back round to it, like the way I've come round to. I mean, one band that I've come back round to in an insane way is Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know if you're ever a big Rage fan.
No, I wasn't, and I was not. No.
Okay, well, that's a short segment of this chat. Well, I
want to hear about it. No.
Well, no, it's mainly because I've gone through a big bass guitar period. I mean, bass was like the first kind of proper instrument that I learned. My dad bought me a bass guitar.
That's cool.
He played guitar so I could play along with him, and that was really great.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I had like a really cheap, janky one, and then my dad managed to get hold of it was all about having a Fender, and I got a Fender, but it wasn't one I'd seen before. Like my dad had managed to find some secondhand it's Japanese, like 90s Japanese weird one, which did actually sound great, but it was like the only bass I had since. I actually got hold of an identical one when I started touring, because I don't know if you been through this, but it's like, I'm on tour now, I need like a backup instrument.
Yeah. Do you still have the original one that your dad bought you?
I'm looking at it right now, actually. And then after that I did play a bit of guitar. I started playing drums, I was just so like, drums was like the coolest thing. Like I had to play drums.
Yeah.
But I would get way more into like drum brands and all the stands and hardware and all that kind of stuff, and even guitars and stuff. But bass, I'd never really been like, I hadn't bought any other basses, but I had always thought that the coolest looking bass was the bass that Tim Comerford had in Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
Music Man basses, those ones, they're kind of identifiable because the machine heads there's like 3 on top and 1 sticks off the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently I was just suddenly was overwhelmed with like, I want one of these basses. Like I've always thought they were the coolest thing. I want one. And then I started researching them, and at the same time, a bit of that like sweet spot thing was like, I was also interested in like a short scale basses have become a thing, and passive basses, because I always played an active bass. And then I like honed it down to this one model that existed. I wanted a white bass.
Yeah.
And it was just there. It was just like, there is one that ticks all these boxes. So I bought it. I love it. And then I've just been playing Rage Against the Machine riffs on it basically since, because the bass lines were so good, and they've aged like, I think it's aged really well. And that's that kind of band where they were straight off the, early 20s, formed a band, first records got all these bangers on, done,
Yeah. So is the album to listen to the classic, I want to say, what's it called again?
Well, it's self-titled, the first one.
Okay.
And then there's Evil Empire's the second one.
Okay.
Battle of Los Angeles is the one. Yeah, but I mean, they're all great.
Battle of Los Angeles, that's what I was actually thinking of.
Right, yeah.
I thought California came into it somewhere. Yeah. But no, it sounds like the sort of thing I could put on when running or something like that.
Yeah.
I can do that. Okay.
When you're feeling politicized over a run. Sorry. Brandon.
Well, I'm sort of having a break from podcasts, listening to them, that is, not recording them.
I only appear on podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was listening to I would say at a conservative estimate, 4 hours a day of podcasts.
Wow.
And I just realized I was kind of going mad. I was not having any thoughts.
You had a pod blum. A pod blum.
Definitely leave that in, Josh. That is that.
Sorry.
I just was like, I can't be alone with my thoughts. There's something wrong with me. I would be looking for my AirPods to even just take out the bins or something. I'd just be like, gotta get that podcast time.
Was that a search for knowledge or the comfort of?
I would say it was
all people
just
talking.
a habit. Good question. I think it was the comfort of speech dressed up as the search for knowledge, because it was always it was for the most part sort of vaguely interesting, the rest is history, the rest is politics, it wasn't like I was completely wasting my time with I don't even know what would be a waste of time, but something truly
based watches.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like it was purely strictly watch podcasts, although there was 1 or 2 of those. What I'm trying to say is I'm letting music back into my life, and I'm treating myself to more music. Podcasts have basically pushed music out of my life almost entirely, because it's just crazy.
We'd seen a tweet a while ago that was, I guess it's a similar thing to you, where someone's like, I've been listening to podcast radio, just started listening to albums again. These are great, albums are great. Oh my God. My wife managed to play me a podcast about Elvis having chronic memory loss of lyrics. Just before I was going on tour, which I thought was appreciated.
That's revisionist history.
Yeah.
Gladwell. Yeah, listen to that. I listened to that episode.
It's really great, but for someone who
it is.
It's like walking downstairs. I have to not think about any lyrics in order to. As soon as I start thinking about lyrics, I will forget them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this. Right before going on stage, if you're like, oh my God, what's the first line of that song?
I definitely have it with certain kind of chord progressions in songs.
Right.
If I think about it, that's the worst thing I could possibly do. Yeah, walking downstairs is a very good. It's very true. Yeah, if you actually think about what your feet are doing, you're probably going to fall over.
Now I've said that. Now you were blissfully walking downstairs without questioning.
Exactly. I shall have to move to a bungalow.
Yeah, well, I live in a bungalow. It rules.
Oh, nice. Yeah, by the sea. You live by the sea, right?
Correct. Yes.
That's cool. I can totally see the appeal of single floor living. We went to Center Parcs this summer in France, and I was saying to my wife, I could move into this house. I really like this. I feel like at home we're constant, because we have a young child. I mean, he's not that young actually. He's 4 now, but I feel like I spent the last 4 years just creeping around my house. Just everywhere. Like when he's, my default mode is to creep because I'm constantly thinking about waking him up. And we live in like a Victorian house and it's quite creaky.
Yeah.
And we were staying in this like solid Center Parcs bungalow. And it was just so nice, him being asleep over there, and we were having our evening over here. And I was just like, I'm not thinking about music or TV going up or like, walking, I was just like, it was really lovely.
I've become absolutely obsessed with the mid-century desert architecture, Californian stuff. I'm just like, I just can't, the feeling I get from it, I just almost can't contain like how incredible it is to have built single story, the way that these, I mean, they are bungalows, but you sort of, amazing bungalows out in the desert with a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And the carport with these like, the cars that were being made in America. That's I just can't.
Yeah.
It's just I can't contain it. It might have even been when I saw you in Los Angeles that I'd come back and really wanted to. I mean, to be honest, I was trying to find a way to move out to LA, but like a seaside, a British seaside fitted
version,
like
Dungeness maybe.
Yeah, Dungeness is cool. I managed to have a like a lockdown meetup for my birthday because I had an important birthday over lockdown, and had a Dungeness meet, and that place is awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
sort of a horizontal space and stuff it's obviously a luxury because you're taking up. You need a bigger plot for it. I'm utterly obsessed with how cars feature in. It kind of amazes me how that in the UK where it's just raining all the time and there aren't more sort of like covered walkways between where you park your car and, I mean, this is if you're like driveway setup. So I'm like obsessed with carports, the sort of design of all that. But no creaking.
It always stuck with me what you said when we met in LA. You were like, yeah, I'm trying to move here. I was like, why is that? And you were like, I just love driving. And I was like, brilliant. I don't think I could even drive at that time. I certainly didn't have a car. And I was just like, that's wild. Like, because I think as a Brit going to LA, I was just like, fuck me, this place is crazy. Like, everyone just drives everywhere. Like, you can't just walk down the road and get a cup of coffee. You've got to drive there.
Well, I think it's because people had said to me like, oh, you'd have to drive everywhere. And I was so like, I like that. And the type of driving though, it's so nice. It's like, the roads is wide.
Yeah.
There aren't any.
There's parking.
Everywhere there's parking. Exactly. Even a little coffee shop will have like a huge car park out the front. I was like, oh, man, this is so good. And obviously I love the design of all the cars that you see around. The carports.
What you never told me what you were wearing.
Okay, yeah.
So what is it? What are you wearing today?
I'm wearing this micro brand.
Oh yeah, nice. It's a black dial, time watch, only
black
steel.
Dial, yes, field watch. I think
field watch. Yeah.
With a nylon strap.
What's the brand?
It's called Chrono Divers, but I think I ended up chatting to the guy because I was like, oh, I've got some other ideas of watch things, and I'm not sure if he's actually going to make any more. So there you go.
Nice.
So you can't even buy one if you wanted one.
And I always remember in your song it's Nothing But Green Lights, the 1989 black Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah,
that's right, isn't it?
Correct.
Which is my year of birth.
Oh, cool.
And I
and Taylor Swift.
And Taylor Swift, I know. So I have a 1989 tattoo. And when I went to see Taylor Swift last summer, let's just say it felt great. I could do a whole podcast on my thoughts on the Eras tour and why nothing but a Smiths reunion would induce me to return to Wembley Stadium for a gig.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, TLDR. The getting out and getting home situation is terrible.
Okay, yeah,
and it was on my birthday, and it ruined my, and it really was not a good end to the birthday.
Damn it.
But what's the best? Because I've never like I'm like watches, yes, cameras, absolutely, fountain pens, talk to me, but I've not really got into the car thing yet.
Yeah, I can give you some advice on that, but I've been in Mercedes. My dad had Mercedes, and he was, it was always about. They were really good value. They would depreciate. They'd be so expensive at first. They would depreciate so much. But if you were kind of willing to put up with some maintenance, you were driving these cars that were like, you know, that seemed like hyper luxurious. And that was really kind of novel to be that age and driving around in these pretty cool cars. And my best mate his dad had a garage that sold BMWs, and he had a BMW and I had a Mercedes, and we were like the guys with the cars, which was great fun.
Yeah.
And then I just had the one in the song is a SEC, which I think is kind of the coolest, almost the ultimate Mercedes, which going up in value a lot. I wish I still had it, actually. The massive coupe, so, you know, just 2 doors, huge car.
Yeah.
Utterly awesome. So I owned the car, you know, at the time.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
I loved it. And I don't know where it came. I mean, I probably listened to loads. I mean, driving car references, obviously, in loads of songs. I do love driving. Like, I love the act of driving anywhere for any reason, for any excuse.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great place to listen to music, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great place to have a chat. It's like a time when my wife and I can actually kind of get into the weeds of something, is when we have a long drive. You know, our son falls asleep.
Yikes.
And it's good. Yeah. But in a good way, you know, like I don't mean
I know what you mean.
Really like get down to business on an argument, although obviously that has been known to happen. But you know, it's like, it's, you know, and my wife always says as well that, like, she always says that when she was like a teenager, or a kid and a teenager, she was like, there was an unspoken rule in the house, in their family, which was like, you could ask anything in the car.
Oh, cool.
So the car was this space where, like, you could be like,
because you can't leave.
You could be like, I've heard about this thing. What's a blowjob, or something like
God.
that. I mean, yeah, I couldn't. That's a really weird example to give, but like,
I see.
You know, you could kind of, or you could be like, have you ever smoked weed or something like that? You know, to your dad. I don't know. She always just said that it was like,
I mean,
you could ask stuff in the car. I quite like that.
Yeah. Having thought about it, there's a nice vibe going on.
Well, you can avoid eye contact. You know,
that's like, true. Yeah.
You can be more. Sometimes you can be more frank when you don't have to look somebody in the eye. It's lovely. Okay, very, very cool. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's been.
Thank you.
It's been lovely to chat.
Yeah, really nice.
And I do want to thank you a great deal for the remix, which is great. And thanks for doing it.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I was, you know, it really was a bit of a pinch myself moment, to be honest. So thank you for asking me, and I had a great time. And I hope it proves to be a rattler, as you said.
Right? Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, or banger as well.
Yeah, that's like a driving reference, right? Like something that like rattles the subs or something.
Yeah, it is, exactly. Yeah, I will look forward to seeing you at the next, you know, chic, mysterious bar set up somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, me too. Very much indeed.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks to Tom Vek and Gus Unger-Hamilton for chatting. If you liked what you heard, please follow Talkhouse on your favorite podcasting platform and check out all the great stuff at talkhouse.com. This episode was produced by Myron Kaplan, and the Talkhouse theme is composed and performed by The Range. See you next time.